What's up, YouTube world? It's your boy J Dub, the #1 comment on YouTube, and I'm back with another review. Today I am reviewing The Real Housewives of Atlanta. This is season 15, episode 2. What's the name of this episode? It's called Sisters Before Misters. And before I get started, for those who are new to my channel, I do detailed reviews of reality shows. I may not hit every single scene, but try to pick out the most important details that I think, and maybe pick up some details that you may have not seen. And as I said in my intro, I am YouTube's #1 commenter. So on this channel, our channel, it's all about the comments. That's what I need. That's how you show the love. That's how you show the support. That's how you come in the door, saying hello, saying what you say, because that's the motto of this channel. And this is a comment safe zone, because that means you can say whatever you need to feel, whether we agree or disagree or whatever. Nobody will come for you, and if they do, we got to straighten it out, because we are not just any old commenters. We are the Dub fam. So when you see somebody in the comments, whether you agree or disagree, we just respect each other. So let's get into it. And I want to give a disclaimer, but maybe not say a disclaimer. I want to set a tone, because I've been watching The Real Housewives of Atlanta since the beginning. And sometimes it kind of brings the best and worst of emotions out of people. So what I would say is, again, I stress enough, let's just be respectful in the comments, and that it's okay to disagree. And this is a safe space to share that, because guess what? I got a feeling a lot of y'all are not going to disagree with me. But y'all come here for my point of view. So that's what it's about. And y'all coming here to fellowship within the comments. So let's get to it. Let's have some fun. Again, you don't like or disagree with what I say, put it down in the comments and let's talk about it. We have healthy debates. We have a great time. And again, if you think I'm funny in any kind of way, look down in those comments. I'm not even close. So let's go ahead and start off the episode. It's a to be continued episode. That's what they doing like on most seasons with everything now. So it picks up with Kenya and Sheree. They're going over the DM situations with Martell, and Candy is dealing with Courtney. Now it's just a big old mess, and it's just so much drama at a $100,000 birthday party. Why do we have to do that all the time at some events? Like, people don't respect people's events, time, space, money, where you got to have your disagreements at that very location, because most of the time you have the person's number, or you can, meet at lunch or whatever, but why maybe ruin somebody's celebration? But hey, that's the reality world that we live in. So, Candy's situation, Todd is coming up short once again. She got Courtney bouncing all in her face and all that. Like, to understand, for those who may not know, this is the time, when women, or let's say how the system is set up. If you have a husband, he is supposed to protect you. And if it's man, woman, or child, if your husband is in the room and in the building, he has the right to intervene immediately if you're being attacked. Granted, this is a show, but again, somebody doing this all up in, a lot of places that's offensive, a lot of places that's provocative, and a lot of places you can get your ass whipped, for doing stuff like that. But again, I don't want to see none of this. We going into the love and hip hop culture. Candy is worth over $30 million. She shouldn't even have to raise her voice for in real life. Like, when you elevate to those levels, it shouldn't be like that. It should look different. Your life should be different. Your surroundings should be different. Environments, everything different. Peaceful place. I don't like it. But, like I said, y'all know how, y'all learning how I feel about Todd. But, they always trying to rehash something. And then once that little situation broke up, I like how Candy preferred not to rehash it. Because in that moment, when it's kind of heated, you kind of want to leave it alone and maybe revisit another time if it has to be revisited. So, speaking of rehashing, we have to bring up the situation with Kenya, Sheree, and Martell. You know why? Because I don't really like that we've gotten to a place now we're focusing on Martell Holt. And again, y'all know how I feel about Martell Holt. He is the primary reason that I do not review Love and Marriage Huntsville. You know, that's my stance on that, because it's like, I don't think much of Martell, but we're going to get into it since we got to talk about it. They making us talk about it. They want us to talk about it. So, you know, at this point, we got to stir up the drama, because why? People have calmed down. Nobody's fighting. So, you know, we got to push the narrative where we got to have conflict. And, you know, let's just go ahead and go over to the situation with Sheree. Sheree, I want to cover this because I think people have different views of it. I peeked in the YouTube closet and saw people having their little different opinions, because I'll try not to get into too much because I don't want it to sway my opinion in any kind of way, but just want to give you what I feel. Now, I did not like that Sheree brought Martell over to Kenya when being questioned about the DMs or whatever, because that was a conversation between girlfriends, and she could have had a conversation later with Martell. And you know, I tried to dissect the situation bit by bit, because we get into this thing where, again, Kenya has once again deemed another man aggressive. And I kind of broke it down. So Martell came over once Sheree called him over, and you know, Monietta was talking as well, and Martell mentioned, like, you know, Kenya can speak for herself. And Kenya was like, "Oh, yo, you are so aggressive." Like, I didn't see that. I didn't see it that way. I didn't get it that way. And granted, y'all know how I feel about Martell. That wasn't an aggressive moment. That wasn't the right time. But things went left. They really went left when Martell called Kenya a hoe on the low in real life, when she talking about, you know, oh, you answer your DMs. I'm sure you answer all of that. Now, that was not aggressive. However, that was absolutely inappropriate, and it was disrespectful towards Kenya. But do I expect anything less from Martell? I don't. But you know, let's continue with it. Like when the ladies caught that inappropriate comment, they got on Martell, and so much so, Sheree moved Martell out of the situation. However, Kenya came forward after Martell, like pointing at him and all that, like pointing to his face, so much so they had to come in between. Now, that would be defined as aggressive. And when I say that, you know, Kenya brings the narrative where she say, like, you know, I'm out here by myself, you know, as a woman, and, you know, men are getting aggressive with me and all that. Now, granted, that comment was absolutely offensive. I want Kenya to be a part of the Dove fam. Kenya, say what you say. However, that energy where you're approaching people and coming after people, especially a man, that's not a good look. I know cameras are there. I know security's there, but that's not the move. That's not the move. It's kind of contradictory of like what you're saying, like you're being attacked. And you know, that's my opinion. That's what I believe, because in this sense, I guess the best phrase for me would be two things can be true. So, you know, we're gonna dive more into it, but let's go into something lighter, because that was a little heavy. So we see Drew. This is the first time I've seen Drew in this episode. This is the second episode, and she's back from Chi-Town. She was dealing with some family situations where her father is ill. I guess he has some type of Alzheimer's or dementia. And when I see her come home, she's like welcomed by Ralph. But when I see her come home and Ralph, they're in the same room, I like clench my teeth. I don't see the love. I don't see the positive energy. It feels like they're living a lie. That's what it feels like to me. And, you know, maybe they have a house full of kids, but I just don't see the love. It's just not there for me. And we learned Drew, she has a new venture. She's doing an EP, a music EP. And then who do we see on the cover? Raggedy Ralph. Raggedy Ralph is on this cover, and it's in like highlighted pink words of talking about, like, you know, written and produced by Ralph and all that in bold letters. And I'm like, can Drew have her shine? Can she? Like, it's okay to, put the credit down or whatever, but let her have her moment. I do have a problem with that, with men trying to steal a moment or like overshadow their wives. We had that situation that come up with Peter, Raggedy Ralph, and in my opinion, Todd, but in a different way. But we're going to get into that. We're going to definitely get into that. So we see Candy. She's having lunch with Sonya, and they talk about they actually went. We didn't know they had a trip to Disney. They did a family trip. Candy invited like everybody, whoever wanted to go. Nobody responded. I thought Kenya should have went with Brooklyn, but hey, what do I know? Candy said they had a great time and everything, and Sonya kind of breaks down her family dynamic or whatever, because Ross has been ready for them to live separately, and like I said, I'm really connected to Sonya and Ross because, again, I used to watch this show, love this show, but I really know their dynamic. And what I'm seeing is Ross is pretty much tired. He's ready to separate from the family. I don't know. I'm not Jamaican. I don't know if it's your Jamaican thing. You let everybody live under one house or whatever the case may be, or just the fact that Sonya and her family are codependent on one another. We know Sonya has always been the breadwinner, and everybody eats off of Sonya's fame. And and I do hear and see like people say, "Oh yeah, like Sonya trying to do it for the cameras," or like in real life, they money wise they're fine. Ross used to play for the New York Giants, and now he's doing a limousine business, and Sonya is a world-class track star who also does sports casting and does different endorsements. So like they're fine. And just the fact that it's time to kind of break up that dynamic. The mother wants to move to Florida, and I get that. Her heart speaks in Florida. I would love to live in Florida. And she's saying that her sister's ready to go. I'm not sure of that so much, because why would her sister move in with her husband and their 2 children? Were they living in the basement? They don't really show their living quarters or whatever the case may be. But again, I can't go into enough. I won't go back. Y'all got to go look at Sonya's old season and see how awful her sister's husband is at the time. But I understand that. Like, you want to grow, you want to have your own space, you want to walk around with no shirt on, and not have your mother-in-law and your sister and their kids in the kitchen while you trying to get something to drink. So that's normal. But the best part of the scene is when Candy like mentioned that situation with Courtney, and Sonya kind of do that fake thing like, oh, I forgot to tell you. I was over Sheree house and everything. And Courtney had mentioned like you were promoting some type of place, and then next week all the ghetto people came out, or the place got ghetto or whatever. And Candy was like, oh, that's interesting. Like, you just telling me this. What did you say? And then Sonya like, I said she's my friend, and I said that, y'all need to have a conversation. So you had one. And, I can really see Sonya's fakeness in this situation. Now, granted, where I am, I'm kind of partial to Sonya because, again, coming from her last, her reality show, I love Sonya, love her family dynamic. I'm with all of that. But on here, not so much. Sonya is the fake bone collector. And I agree with Candy in the fact that, like, I don't really see any of them as real friends. But the fact of the matter is that, like, I'm coming to your party. You already know somebody is going to confront me. I don't know them. You could give a heads up. We do vacation. A courtesy. It don't have to be about because we best friends or you owe loyalty to me. And then in that moment, Candy was probably like, yeah, she over there with Marlo and them, Kikiing and all that. And that's exactly what she was doing. She was not taking up for Candy. Okay. Not that she had to, but she lied about it. And Candy knows that she cannot trust Sonya like that. And they did a little split view of the screen, and it played out exactly how Candy called it. I love that discernment. So, They just going over, they talk, doing the girlfriend talk, and Candy's, continue to have trouble with Todd. Todd is turning to Shaq from Married at First Sight. Todd needs support. The millions and millions of dollars that Candy laid from the foundation that he works off of. Not saying he's not an earner. However, guess what? You put me in a position, and I got $5 million to play with. I know I can make something happen. I'm certain of it. So, I just think at this point, Todd is trying to maybe prove everybody wrong at this point. Like, I guess him dealing with Mama Joyce, that has been a lot. But it's like, again, he's not taking the stress off of Candy. He's adding on stress to Candy. Like, in real life, Candy, again, I'll keep doing it because they keep coming up. Candy is busy. Candy is a workaholic. You don't marry somebody and then say, you know what? They ain't going to be a workaholic no more. It's later. No, you do have to realize you're marrying that type of person. That's an addiction. That's a real thing. Whether Candy is running from dealing with day-to-day parenting, or Candy never wants to be poor again, whatever her issue is, Candy will stop when she is ready. You notice about her. Stop pushing her to like, and then because they ain't about, and everybody talking, Candy, you gotta spend time with your husband. No, Todd does not want to spend more time. Todd wants Candy to stop what she's doing, the stuff that's bringing in the money, to say, help me with my projects. I helped you with yours. That's what he's supposed to do if he can help. Stop. It feel like a competition. Stop competing with Candy. Todd wants to be the fifth member of Escape. Let her shine. Play with the millions that she lets you play with and that you make, and let that be that. You can hire some people. You're in production. Stop it. Let Candy work. In entertainment, in sports, you have to strike when the iron's hot. You have a window where you have a certain time to make things happen because you're going off of your popularity. You have to work that window. Unless you're ready to give it up for the family. Candy's not ready to do that. And Candy keeps going because she's reinventing herself and the businesses that she focuses on. Let that woman work, even if it's 20 years later. I mean, Riley even told her, like, hey, Mom, you're working too much, and why would you bring another baby in it? Did Candy listen? No. Candy's going to do Candy. You're not going to change her. Let her do her thing. You do your thing. Take the G-Wagons and the Rolexes and all that kind of stuff and enjoy your life, Todd. Make it easier for her. People don't get that. That's not selfish. Candy, who she is. You don't marry her time. I'm a change. I'm gonna make her stop working so much. Let me get off that. That got on my nerves because that remind me of Shaq. But like I said, with that Sonya thing. It was just like Sonya comes off two-faced and Candy realizes that she cannot trust her and they're really not friends because that's how it is. This is just a show and they put ladies together and they pretend and they make them social. Like, oh, this is your friend. This is your friend. Pretty much everybody who comes on new, they have to be introduced. Like, they have to be brought to the table like, oh, this is my friend Sonya. Oh, this is my friend Drew. That's how the system goes. And it didn't stop with this show because we still introducing new people. I don't like the new girls. I like the old cast, but nothing lasts forever. So we see Sonya. She's FaceTiming Ross and asks Ross, like, she getting on Ross about like, hey, like, you always gone. How we gonna make baby number 2 or whatever? And, like I said, from the reality shows, the dynamic isn't really working for them. Ross pretty much wants her family out the house, so then I'm sure he'll want a baby. Then Sonya don't really want to have a baby. Sonya works a lot too, because people say, what does Sonya do? Like I said, it's based off of her fame of her sport, her track and field, because she's a sportscaster, because she's an expert in that area. But I think they would have a happier life, because when I look at Ross looks depressed. He looks down, like he's just going through the motion, like her family came over and they just never left. Like, when are they going to leave? I'm just so unhappy. I'm tired of hearing them fighting. I can't be myself. I hate my life kind of situation. But I think they'll get better. So we see Candy and Todd, and they meeting at Blaze, the restaurant. And, you know, again, Todd is putting more stress on the marriage. Why I say that? Because Todd thinks he's Tim Norman from one of my favorite shows with Sweetie Pies. And he's opening up a whole bunch of restaurants. And his theory, you know, but really it's not the same thing. Tim is Miss Robbie's son, but he's in jail for life for murdering her grandson. But that's a whole nother story. But the fact of the matter is, that's her husband. And yes, he has a right to the money because it is their money. However, Candy doesn't like the theory that he's opening up all these restaurants. You can, what do you call it? You can have overexposure. You can have so many things going on where you can't really tend to them, and then they'll start to falter. You look around, you have a whole bunch of closed businesses. Because, truth be told, for people who don't know, restaurants are one of the worst businesses to ever go into. Why? Because the failure rate is so high. Like, I'm gonna jump out there, and it's not exaggeration. It's probably about 90 to 95%. I'm gonna say closer to 95% of failure rate, because you can't sustain it over time, and it costs so much money just to run a restaurant, especially a high-end restaurant. You know, times change often, and that's why you would always see some of your favorite restaurants going out of business. It's like only like the big chains can stay open because they can absorb those losses. So Todd's theory is absolutely off. I've never owned a restaurant, but I do know something about business, so I'm gonna tell you that. And Candy has a reason to be concerned. However, I know that Candy is smart enough to not let Todd bankrupt them. You know, let him, hey, Todd, that's how you feel like you can finance your own movie money and all that. Have at it. Play with the millions. You made some. Have at it. Enjoy. But don't take Candy away from her business and the things she want to do. I helped you, so please help me. Come on, stop it. But where I lost my place. But in this scene, it was really something, because they had Blaze talking about they need to revamp it because it's kind of sliding down, because it changes. That's exactly what happens in restaurants. They talking about the new glazed chicken wings and the shrimp tartare and all that. No, we don't want to hear that. We want to know, why does your godson cousin got an arm sling on and look like he took 600 milligram Motrin? He's hurting. And the producer says, hey, can we talk about the elephant in the room? I'm like, yeah, let's talk about it. Because reality shows are supposed to be real, but a lot of times they're not. We want the real. We want to know why your cousin is in this meeting with his arm slung up. Candy and Todd didn't want to talk about it, said because it's a legal thing. But in Candy's confession, she say, hey, it was an employee. He was drunk. He came in late. Her cousin runs the kitchen. So I guess he addressed him and he shot him. They said it happened outside. I heard allegedly that it happened inside. But okay, it don't matter. It happened inside or outside. And then, Sheree got to hop on the train. We don't know if you're going to get biscuits or bullets at Candy. But she said that some people forget that in one of the OLG restaurants in 2020, 3 people were shot in Candy restaurant. Everybody lived, but the fact of the matter is, yeah, that's a thing, because actually as a business owner, you are responsible for all of that. And speaking of that, just like, I'm glad I brought that back up, because like Todd talking about open all these restaurants, they showed on Candy and the Gang that their restaurant has intermittent power outages. Like, that is absolutely ridiculous. Let's say 7 days out of the week, 2 or 3 days, your power is going to go out. While the people are in there, while they eating, your registers are down, you can't cook, your freezer is off, and you're not invested in a generator, probably, Todd, before you open up 2 more restaurants, I'm gonna open up OG Mexico Taco Tuesday and all that, and Ace's Pizza. Can we get a generator for the OLG location? That is absolutely absurd to put that out there, that you are okay with intermittent power outages at your business. No wonder the show got canceled. Anyway, let's keep going. So Kenya is meeting with her new friend, Akila, and they're doing like a little play date with Brooklyn and her daughter, and they supposed to be best friends, but I doubt it. Like I said, this is another way you have to introduce a new girl to the group. Like, this is my friend, we play tennis together, and we do this, we do that. And Akila, I don't know, I think I know I like Akila better than Courtney. But Akila had mentioned, like, Kenya, like, hey, if this is your guy you're dealing with, he's the man, you're gonna be with him, and if not, I got some other people I can introduce to you. And Kenya's like, oh, you gonna take me to the football game? She's like, oh yeah. And that's the last thing that Kenya needs. That is like Kenya's track record. She goes after like athletes and rappers and whatever the case may be. And you know why there are alleged rumors about like her DMs do be open to the stars. You know, I ain't saying she a gold digger, but she ain't messing with no, you know, that's what it is. And that's the thing, you know, when we go to the Ebony K. Williams argument, like, if you just shooting for a man for his money or whatever, sometimes it doesn't work out, because there's a lot of things that got to be there for him to actually make a commitment to you. Because guess what? He got plenty of money, and he can have women all over the country. You know, bus drivers and trashmen can have plenty of women. So, yeah, I'm just saying, it don't make sense. This is where, like, who I love Kenya, think she's a beautiful woman, but this is like a perfect example of how you thinking somebody is like, oh, how could she be single? How men aren't snatching them up? There's a lot of variables in that. Again, like Kenya, her upbringing, what she has inside, or her choices in men. You know, rich athletes most likely aren't looking to settle down, especially with 50-year-old women. I'm just saying. So let's continue if we can. So we see Sonya and Sheree meeting up or whatever. You know, they got to go over the debacle, because that was a big thing at the party and all of that. And they got to get on the bandwagon where, you know, Kenya is kind of using that aggressive word or what have you. And she does have a track record of that. And as I said, when breaking down the situation, you know, 2 things can be true at the same time. And just the fact of the matter is, like, I've noticed how much now Sheree is almost Candy's enemy at this point. I don't like that. Like, and I think it's all for just because she's mocked Sheree and repeating something she actually said at the reunion. It just comes off like super hate. And I don't like now she's turning into Marlo or whatever. And granted, we don't see much of Marlo as well. I don't even think I mentioned her. They may have had a scene of her or whatever. Y'all know how I feel about Marlo. They waited too long, or Peach is spoiled. But what about Marlo? Didn't Marlo have a house being built? Why we ain't seeing none of that? Like, it's been a year. Shouldn't we have seen it? Is Marlo's house turning into Chateau Sheree? I don't know. But Marlo don't even really get it. Get my time no more, because I was a Marlo fan, but it ain't working out for me. So let's go to Drew. Drew's in the studio with her executive producer, her accountant, her life coach, her security, Raggedy Ralph. You know, and Drew says that her and Ralph are getting along famously in the studio thing. And you know what? I could kind of see that. I can see that because, like, music is like art. It puts people in different spaces. And especially you can play instruments and sing and all of that. Music plays a very important part in most people's lives. I mean, just regular people, normal people, including me. You know, I'm a self-named producer and a DJ and all that stuff. I can have an ear for music. Like, I have playlists, and every time I play them, somebody always wants my music, or they like, oh, the DJ is cranking, or he doing it, because yes, I have an ear for music. I am a music guru. I love music. But like I said, so now they're really getting along, and they need to have dates in the studio just to get along. But I believe Ralph, of course, he is a musician. Yes, that can bring the best out of you. But also, I think Ralph, because he's getting something out of it, he gets excited or up for this as well. You know, he's the executive producer and the songwriter. And I actually like their little song, so it's cool. So pretty much we have the final showdown with Sheree and Kenya, and they're at the She by Sheree factory. And it looks like it's packed. Like, ain't no orders going out. It's all backed up. But, you know, we're not really here to see Sheree's progress, because who knows what the truth is about She by Sheree. Sheree be lying a lot. She do. That's what it is. So who knows what you can believe. So I guess that's why she with Martell. You know, that's the thing, because yeah, they're perfect for each other. But you know what I did enjoy? How their debate back and forth, it didn't get too ugly. They were, you know, going at it. They got a little, I wouldn't even call it heated. They got a little passionate. And they were still smiling. And even got like a joke out of it. Because like Sheree was, like, to me, was trying to push Martell onto Kenya. And Kenya don't see it for Martell. And she pretty much said that, like, Kenya said Martell, just seeing him from the past seasons on his show with Love and Marriage Huntsville, she don't like his character. She see how he moved with Mel, and she not feeling that. However, that's conflicting, because Kenya, even since last season, was asking, oh, how's Martell? Or when am I get to see Martell? And now she talking about she don't want to get to know him or nothing like that. Now I get it, because that character thing is real. All of a sudden, Kenya wants to see Martell. Now she doesn't want to see Martell because of his character. Martell has always been Martell. Martell is abusive. Mentally, allegedly, physically. Selfish, narcissistic. Zero accountability. All the nasty things you could ever think about a person. Martell has earned that. But it don't match up with what Kenya's saying. So, I mean, but like I said, they even got a little joke in it when it was kind of getting a little heavy. And Kenya was like, I mean, you know, how you ain't stand up for me or whatever, which I agree with, because I believe what I would say. I believe Sheree tried to bring down the temperature in the room by removing Martell or what have you. But Kenya's like, you know, it's supposed to be bros before hoes. She's like, wait a minute, bros before he's supposed to come? Or she's like, no, we're the bros and Martell is the hoe. And they bust out laughing. And it was naturally funny. They had a good time within the argument. But the way I see it, in my opinion, in my auntie's advice voice, Kenya doesn't take any responsibility in the situation. And granted, in any situation, any situation that you're involved in, I'm involved in, we have some responsibility of what we contributed to the situation. But according to Kenya, it's all Martell's fault. And that's it, and that's all. And they even went over it. And I was really surprised that Kenya was not offended by Martell when he cussed and talking about, I don't care if I tried to F her or whatever. And she said that didn't bother her. She's saying that she thinks that's the way Martell is or how he talks. But what she did not like is the way Martell implied that, oh, I bet your DMs are pretty much open. You answer all of them. That was offensive. He was insinuating that she's a hoe and not a bro. So I get that. That was absolutely disrespectful, absolutely inappropriate. But was it aggressive? In my opinion, no, it was not. So let me bottom line with it, because I feel like I'm tired I'm fighting with him and I'm exhausted about it. In my opinion, this does not have to be yours. You don't have to agree with J-Dub, but Kenya was being a Karen. Let me say it again. Kenya was being a Karen. Why would you say that about J-Dub? We fight for women's rights. We stand up for women. Kenya will throw that narrative. Oh, I'm by myself out here as a woman, and you let a man jump on me and all that bullshit. I don't buy it. Kenya gets nasty with the guys and coming up and all that extra stuff. It was aggressive. It was on her part, not that, again, I take anything away from other men being aggressive, especially her ex-husband. That's who she should have been talking about, who's aggressive and nasty and mean and all that kind of stuff. But hey, the fact of the matter is there's options. We can solve this. You know, men are firefighters. We want to solve this. Okay, you're out here alone in this world without a man. Okay, bring a man with you. And maybe not your man. Bring your cousin with you who's your backup. Or bring security. Or don't film with no man. Or don't have a conversation and say, I won't talk to a man. I won't address him. Or, I don't know, something. But don't play the victim when your mouth is nasty with a razor tongue. When you don't back down. Don't engage in that manner. Say what you say, but don't engage like you ready to fight and all that extra stuff. Leave it alone. And in my opinion, Sheree's responsibility. She totally gaslit Kenya and talking about when the DM thing was mentioned, and Sheree was like, oh, I wouldn't take that as like being a hoe. I would never think. We're not talking about you, Sheree, what you thought or what you feel. Kenya expressed how she felt about the situation. Now you want to make her crazy. This is a perfect example of gaslighting. Somebody brings something to you and you turn it all around on them and make it think that what they're saying is absolutely ridiculous. They're crazy for thinking for that. Kenya's gripe was absolutely valid. She should have been offended. That should have bothered her. And that's it. But do I think Sheree should have done more to kind of back down Martell and tell him like, hey, she should have probably forewarned him. Like, this ain't your show. These women will come at you toe to toe. And I don't want you to get in those kind of interaction with my friends. I don't want you to do that. But you can't take Martell nowhere. Martell is mediocre. Martell is low class. You know, regardless. Even if he had finished his business license, he doesn't belong in that circle. He's not built like that. He's not made like that. So again, Sheree has low standards. Sheree is in her mid 50s. The pickings are slim. But anybody but Martell, bring your big cane Corsa dog before you bring Martell anywhere. So that's pretty much it for the episode. Drop down in the comments. Please tell me what you think, because I know we got a lot to say about this. And again, we can agree to disagree, but I do want to hear you. And you know, it's okay that we disagree. And guess what? Somebody might in the comments might teach me something or help me change my perspective or see it in a different way. So as I always tell y'all could be anywhere in this YouTube world, but you're here with me. I really appreciate it and I really mean it.